Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for coming in to the How to Retain Young People in Your Workplace webinar. In a minute, I'll be handing over to Kelvin Millar, our facilitator for today's discussion. But before we do, we've just got a couple of little housekeeping matters. We just ask if everybody could leave their microphones on mute for the presentation, or for the webinar, sorry. And if you have a question, very welcome to put it in the chat function. And during the course of the conversation, when there's the ability to sort of cut in with questions, I will contact Kel and we'll do that then. But other than that, it's really over to Kel, and and I hope everybody enjoys the webinar.
Thank you very much, Brad. Welcome everyone, and I think we're getting more people come in as we go. Good afternoon and welcome to today's webinar on how to retain young people in your workplace. My name is Kelvin Millar, the Industry Workforce Advisor here at Motor Trades Association. The IWA role is established to support automotive businesses develop solutions to address workforce issues. It's an initiative funded by the Queensland Government through the Good People, Good Jobs Queensland Workforce Strategy 2022 to 2032. So if I could start today by acknowledging, should I say, the traditional owners of the various lands on which we're all meeting, and recognise elders past, present and emerging. So let's get into it. Today we're tackling a key topic that resonates with a lot of people in our industry. When I'm out in the field engaging with business owners, I often hear the same line repeatedly: I can't keep young people in my business. That's what we're here to talk about. So today we'll take a deeper dive into this issue and how introducing certain strategies and changing old habits can make a big difference. So today's webinar, Brad's gone through all that. We know it's interactive. We really do encourage you to use that chat function. So let's get into it. Let's not hold back any further, and we'll have a chat and see where we go. Waste no time. Here we go. I'd like to introduce our panel, starting with Rod Camm, who is MTAQ's CEO. Rod has had an extensive career in different industries, employing a vast number of young people along the way. Welcome, Rod.
Hello, everyone. Great to be here.
Chelsea Lawson is next, who is MTAQ's project coordinator for young female apprentices in automotive. Chelsea's also a qualified light vehicle mechanic who will offer an employee's perspective on this topic. Welcome, Chelsea.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
No worries. And last but not least, we've got Kosta Kantilaftis, the owner of Dulwich Hill Automotive and co-founder of the Garage Network, which is a community platform for mechanics across Australia. Kosta, welcome. And if I could start, mate, if you could give us, or all attendees, a little bit of an understanding of how and what the Garage Network is.
Yeah, of course. First and foremost, well done on the last name, because you're probably one of the first people to nail that one. But no, the Garage Network is a automotive network, obviously, that is made up of 5,000 members, just over. And we are a support group. Also, we provide a bit of technical training, business coaching, mentoring, and a whole array of support structures for the independent automotive repair shop.
Brilliant. Okay, thank you for that. Okay, so listen, we'll get straight into a couple of questions that I've got on the run here, and then start from there and move as we go. So we'll get into the mood. Kosta, I might start with you. This is coming from I hear this all the time. Mainly from employers and other people in various other industries as well, and that is, I can't maintain young people in the workplace. I don't know what it is. They don't work hard. And I know that's provocative, Kosta, but I started with that, and I want you to tell me why people, according to some, don't work hard.
Look, that picks a nerve. I mean, we hear it all the time, and it's something that comes up quite often, within our networks and a lot of the other workshops we speak to. And my first question is always, okay, cool. What are you doing to keep them engaged? And generally there's silence that's followed. Now, we've got a very young team. We've got a couple of apprentices, and I'm actually the oldest person in the team. And what I've found is that they're definitely not lazy, right? as generations change, and let me just be clear, because I know there's going to be people younger and older than me. There is no best generation. I don't believe there is. I think there's differences, and I think that we have to try our best to understand those differences and what encourages people to actually want to do better in their field. But I think having the blanket statement of the younger generation are lazy and that conversation, it's just not true. There's no facts or figures that can support that I've seen anyways. Maybe there is that I've never seen, but going off the work ethic of my team and a lot of other young guys, and I did have a bit of a time of training apprentices as well during my career, did a couple of years with the training group, and I saw a lack of maybe support, a lack of understanding of what they want from the workshop owners. Definitely didn't see lazy. Engagement, yeah, but you know what? That's, again, I believe it's the onus is on the employer to keep staff engaged.
Sure. So that leads nicely into what I want to add. You can almost hear businesses asking, it's my business. I'll run it the way I want to. Why should I have to change? I'm the owner.
The good old, but that's how we've always done it in the past.
Yep.
I mean, there's a lot of things that we used to do in the past that are now illegal, right? There's a lot of things that we used to do in the past that is frowned upon. Things change, right? The cars change. Our salaries change. Everything changes. Now, if we're expecting to do the exact same thing we did 20 years ago on vehicles today, our businesses will be closed, right?
Yeah.
So we're expecting these young people to learn the most complex systems we've ever seen, do it without providing any real training post-apprenticeship, and then we want to complain about they're lazy and they don't get the job done on time and all this sort of jazz. And then we want to say, do it my way. Well, have a bit of flexibility and work with your team and find works best for them as well. Because at the end of the day, we spend 90% of the day together. How about we enjoy that time,
Sure. Hey, this one, and I'm going to get away from the provocative questions, but I promise that this will be more engaging. But I'm going to go with this one. Coming from an employer, I can't get my apprentice off their phone. Chelsea, you jump in when you're ready to. Kosta, whoever wants to lead. Tell me about that. Why can't they get them off? Is there a strategy? Is it helpful for them to be on their phone from time to time?
You can go first, Chelsea.
Yeah, I don't know. Everyone is different. Every workplace is different. And I'm not going to defend the people who do sit on their phone and just take it as a bit more of a personal time all day. But I'll get back to that in a sec. So in my experience, my phone was important to have on me. I had the Mechanic Desk app, the Queensland Radio Check app, the app that you can take videos and send it straight to the customer. I was able to take photos of my work, which was a memory technique for me for big jobs, and it's one that I tell my mentees in my role that's really important because some people are visual learners and they need to know that this bolt came out of this hole. Here's a photo of it. But most importantly, when I was on a road test in a questionable car, which is usually my own, I knew that I was able to call my boss if I broke down or got stuck or I was in danger. And, it happened. I dropped a carby in my own Volkswagen, which, is pretty standard for a 50-year-old car. But in my husband's case, when a unrestrained fire extinguisher goes off and gasses the driver, that's also probably one that, hey, come pick me up. I'm stuck at the roundabout. But there is an issue when it comes to social media scrolling and unrelated phone use. And the first point of call of that is to open that discussion of identifying the issue with that staff member, having evidence to back it up, and having a controlled conversation that using a phone at work is relying on a two-way trust that should not be abused, because that trust is throughout the whole relationship of staff and employment of all levels, all management. And there's no benefit to just taking their phone off them like they're 4 years old. Like I said, these are tools that we keep in our toolbox. These are our kits. So putting punishments into place straight away becomes a reoccurring issue of they don't trust me, I can't use this for my job and all that. So I do believe that if it keeps happening and you've already had these discussions like, hey, just letting you know that this is not how we run our business, you need to be a bit more focused in work. If it's not working and that idea of punishment starts going into your mind of like, this is going to have some repercussions because it's losing time and money and all that, which is paramount to owning a business, then it will open up a much deeper conversation of asking them why they actually feel as though they need to be on their phone all day during work hours. This can be something like home-related issues, social media addictions, which is very real, and things like that. And then there's all different levels of support from there on. Worst comes to worst, this is where first warnings and things come into play, because it's a little bit more taking that next step of we've given you all these warnings and now you're not respecting it. And that's where that two-way trust comes back in again.
Yeah, sure. Kosta, did you want to add to that? Yeah,
absolutely. So I'll be honest, we have I wouldn't say a no phone policy, but a very low phone policy at our work, at least in the workshop and workspace. We don't take phones away from people as a thing, that they all are responsible enough to actually put it in their toolbox and not use it throughout the day. We are fortunate where we are fully digital. So our job cards and notes and all that stuff that Chelsea was referring to is on every tablet at every hoist. So there is less dependableness, is that even a word? Don't know, it is now, on running back to their phone for data and stuff, because we do need access to these things throughout the day. Now, as Chelsea also said, 100% any test drive, I expect the boys and girls to have their phone in their pocket and go for their drive for the exact reason. If everything's okay, something's gone wrong, they don't feel safe, all that sort of stuff. Absolutely. And in their own time, they can do whatever they want as well. We don't have a no phone policy in the aspect of phone calls. If their phone rings, they can absolutely walk outside the workshop and take as many calls as they need. Like, let's be realistic. Everyone's still got a life outside of work. Everyone's got a family outside of work, and they may need to be contactable. So there has to be a reasonable adjustment to that no phones rule, I believe. And that's how we run our workshop as well.
Sure. Would it be easy if someone's got pressing needs, whether it's medical or they know they're going to receive phone calls throughout the course of the day based on something private? Would you speak to your supervisor just to say, hey, look, this might be a bit out of the usual. Can I just warn you that I'm going to get a couple of phone calls more likely today, just to have that lines of communication opened up?
I think it'll definitely help. They don't have to go into detail why they need the phone more often, but they can definitely mention it. Now, we don't question that. Like, if my staff member walks outside on his phone and he needs a bit of extra time on the phone, we don't run the workshop that tight. So what I mean by that is we have the flexibility in their day. If something's up, they don't need to, they're adults, like young adults, but they are adults. Right. Even if they need a break, if they decide they need a break throughout the day and it's not at their set time, I know that my team's responsible enough to make a decision for themselves and they feel they need some time.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah. All right. Rod, you can stay muted for a moment, but don't think you're getting an easy ride here. We're just starting with Rod and with Chelsea and Kosta at the moment. So here's another one. I need customers greeted in a certain way, and no matter what I say or do, nothing changes their behaviour. What am I missing?
Are you asking that question too?
No, I'm not. Well, you know what? Yeah, why not? But I was thinking Kosta, but go for it, Rod.
Oh no, I think it's about how you engage. I think both Kosta and Chelsea have touched on these types of elements already. It's about the standards you set. A fish rots from the head. So what culture are you implementing? What customer service ethos? And if people aren't engaging with customers and you condone it by not doing something about it, that becomes practice. And they say the standard you set is the standard you walk past. And it's really about engaging with your people. I like Chelsea's line before around if it's just about retribution and punishment, that does not encourage the right behaviours. It never does. So it's really about just setting the standards and being clear with people.
Can we accept that also that the way someone of a younger generation will greet people? Do we accept that and have a mixed standard? Okay, you're not going to greet them like out of the 80s, but okay, you put your own spin on it, but there are minimum standards that you must adhere to. Kosta?
Oh yeah, look, 100%, and I think that comes across as a company culture thing more than it does the individual. We're pretty big on embedding our culture for us, for our team specifically. We hold monthly workshops where we take a half a day off, and we go, we talk, we actually have discussions about what is our brand voice and how do we actually speak to customers and what do we expect when customers come to us. We also put a pretty strong effort in how we also present ourselves. Like, I'll give credit, and I'll give this credit to the team. They know how I want the workshop to be looking and all that sort of stuff. Now, to be fair, they now want it looking in a certain way, where I'm normally the culprit of leaving the tools out. If I'm in the workshop, I'm normally the one that breaks protocol in that aspect. But they've got absolutely 100% full entitlement to come and tell me to put my tools away.
Yeah.
Right? We all expect to help each other and support each other. Now, as a boss or as a leader or whatever you want to call yourself, you have to lead by example. Now, we can't be expecting the team to be doing things that we're not doing, because I think that starts to run into a culture that's probably not that encouraging to be in, if that's the right word for it. But
yeah.
No, definitely, like we have quite a standardized way we greet. All of our staff greet customers. Our office is actually right at the back of the workshop, so customers do walk through most of the workshop to get to the office, and open communication with our customers, with our staff. We actually alternate days. We may alternate roles. So I'll jump in the workshop. One of the team will come and run the office for the day because they want to have some exposure into a new thing. But I think it's important everyone's across it.
Yeah, sure. This one's going to be open to all three, and I suspect you'll all have a varying answer on this. What's a healthy workplace culture mean or look like to you? Rod, do you want to start that one?
Yeah, sure, no problem. And I think Kosta sort of just described it pretty well in terms of his workplace, that the staff understand the standards and engage with each other, and they engage with Kosta in a non-hierarchical way. In other words, mate, put your tools away. That's quite different to a paternalistic approach where perhaps in the 70s, employers would work around and be a little bit more adversarial. And there's a bottom line advantage to that, which I'll get to. But if you look at the literature, and all of the literature says culture is what matters. It'll beat strategy, policy, every day of the week. But if you look at the literature, it talks about the values of an organisation, the beliefs, the behaviours, the policies, practices. That's all fine. In an Australian vernacular, we just say it's the vibe, to coin a phrase from a movie. And it's about what behaviour does an employer set? What's the behavioural standards that you want in the workplace? How do you engage with your people? Just are people satisfied in their jobs? Are they engaged with each other and with their colleagues? Are they safe? Are they confident? Do they appreciate how much they're paid? Do they appreciate the breaks, the flexibility? That all turns out to be culture. And yes, policies and practices are important because ultimately you need a framework that says, here are the boundaries. But as I said before, if you're not leading by example, or if you're not setting the right standards yourself, you can guarantee that's the standards all the staff pick up. And interestingly, I said that it's not just about a nice thing to do. All the literature I read says, if you look at revenue, they say workplaces that have an identified positive culture grow their revenue 1.5 times faster than ones that don't. That's pretty material. They have better retention rates. Culture now, with you're talking young people, one of the first questions they'll ask before they come work for you is, what's your workplace culture like? You need an answer to that, right? And it's a key attractor attraction mechanism now. And of course, the final element is, if you've always done what you always do, you'll always get what you always got. So nowadays, in a tighter labour market, you need to be thinking more broadly around diversity. And if you don't have a good workplace culture, good luck getting young women and people from other backgrounds coming and work for you. It's a fantastic way to engage in a safe way and having a diverse workplace. So that'll be my open the batting answer.
All right. Anyone else want to go, or are we going to leave Rod hanging there and he's covered it off? Because my next question, you go, Kosta, because my next question is going to be ongoing. Way you go.
I love what Rod said. That's bang on. And
just make sure we record that, please.
Yeah, that's the snippet for the title. Now, I think it's so important that as culture goes, that we're not punishing these little mistakes that people are making. And I found that right now, I remember when one of the newest hires we had, one of his first little hiccups that he went through, he was so stressed out, where that wrote him up for the day. It's like, what's going on? It's okay. Like, that's how we learn, especially as an apprentice. There is no way you're expected to not make mistakes. Quite the opposite. Every mistake is a potential learning experience. And I know that's very cliche and everyone goes on about it, but if they're uncomfortable enough to the point where they're so scared to make a mistake, they're never going to be autonomous, and no one's ever going to be able to be willing to give it a good go, right? It's okay to make a mistake, and especially young staff got to feel supported and comfortable enough where if something goes wrong, rather than yelling, that you've got their back and you're going to help them through the process, because it's all learning. We all break things. As we get more experience, we just break less. That's about it.
Yeah. This one pretty much follows on, and you've largely touched on it as well. What strategies can be used to improve communication? So we're sort of halfway down that line. Who wants to lead off? Come on, I'm going to pick someone. Well done.
I was about to, but Chelsea, you go.
Someone's going to get picked. Away you go.
I'll palm it off to Rod in a minute. But
so what strategies, Chelsea, can be used to improve communication? What would help you as a young female mechanic?
Just quickly following from what Kosta said, because it does go into this, creating that safe space to be able to have a conversation with your employer is paramount. And communication is such a big open issue, I suppose, at the moment, that in our program, Michelle did a whole webinar on communication. Like that's how broad it can be. And we only touched on the subjects that we felt were necessary at the time, and it was still yet to be expanded. But yeah, you also can run the risk with poor communication of your techs hiding things from you. And instead of, hey, I really don't know how to do this, can you give me a hand? It's, well, I'm not going to do it. That guy's going to yell at me. Like, you can very quickly turn toxic, even without you knowing. Sometimes it can happen with poor feedback, bad reviews, things like that, because people can see it, employees feel it, and that's where retention comes from. So with communication, yeah, it all again comes back down to culture. You don't have to be everyone's best friend, but you have to be their safe place, So that's sort of what I found was the most important thing in my journey as a mechanic.
Sure. I think, Chelsea, that's a really, really helpful description, because if you think about the two different cultures, one that there are recriminations for making mistakes versus one that is, no, absolutely be open about it. That will result in one car that there's been a mistake on, but the tech doesn't want to tell anyone, or the apprentice, so it'll go out and it's not right. It'll come back, right? And whereas the other one says, hey, I think I've mucked this up, you fix it before the customer gets it. And certainly, I was in another organisation once that was responsible for the national collection of statistics for the vet sector, and we had an absolute openness about mistakes, because if a minor mistake got made in a survey and no one told us, ultimately it's a catastrophic result downstream. But that's the openness bit. But comms is really important. And I think my key message is you don't need to overcomplicate it. You just need to be open and engaging with your staff. You know, I go to members' workshops all the time. It's the favourite part of my job. So be careful, those out there, if you think about inviting me, because I will come. And a real common ploy nowadays is at the start of every day, you have your stand-up. You have a stand-up discussion. You get all your staff there. You don't let them sit down because it's meant to be 10 minutes. And you talk about what have we got on today? How many cars have we got to get out? What are the key bits to fix? Everyone okay? Are you guys okay? Anyone under pressure? And you know, staff will put their hands up and go, hey, yeah, but I know we're busy. Can I leave at 4? Yeah, well, you know. So that encourages openness and it sets the priorities for the day. And it makes sure people are comfortable with conversation. And that's certainly one strategy. Certainly not emails, texting, things like that. That's just all not very helpful.
Kosta, you happy with that?
100%. I think both Chelsea and Rod nailed all of that. I think, you know, when you reflect back, I can think of any negative day or interaction I've ever had with anyone is generally stemmed from bad communication, not from the circumstance at hand. And we have found that, like Chelsea was saying, the hiding of things or you're actually scared to tell someone that something's gone wrong. That is such a strange thing to have in your work environment, rather than thinking about, hey, how can I get help? It's let me hide this. But I can imagine it happening. So that's scary.
Yeah. All right. Pardon me for one sec. Chelsea, you're on. What's important to and what drives young workers?
Goals.
Okay.
Put it pretty plainly, there are many types of goals. For some people, it's, you know, I want to work hard, buy a house, which is getting further and further out of reach of young people at the moment with inflation. That's just sort of reality at the moment. I'm not being negative about it. It just takes a little bit more work to get there. Understanding what your why is, especially for this industry specifically, it is not easy to work these days. Sometimes it's hot. Sometimes you punch your knuckles at 9 a.m. and you're just standing there like, whoa, what did I do to get here? You know, but other days you couldn't be more grateful to be a part of the automotive industry. And I know that that's 98% of what I had was feeling very grateful, finally understanding things, putting cars together like puzzle pieces in my head. It was amazing. But my goal was I want to finish my apprenticeship, and I had other goals in my personal life, and things changed. Like now I work for MTAQ, but I'm still in the automotive industry.
Good decision.
Thank you, Rod. I was forced to say, no, I'm kidding. No, it's been great because my new goal is to make sure that the females going through the program that I'm running feel supported. And that's the reason why I do what I do every day. So these goals is what makes people get up and go to work. And it can be very small goals. It can be, I want to spend more time with family, and this job offers me an RDO once a month. Something like that. It doesn't have to be extreme, but it's definitely important regardless. So I feel like that's where the underlying motivation comes from. And sometimes goals are not always in the forefront. Sometimes it's a little bit in the background, but it still means that every day you work closer to get there. So.
Yeah. As an employer, Kosta, the question was, so what's important to and what drives young workers? As an employer, what's your perspective? Obviously, what Chelsea said would resonate.
Like she's reading my mind, and this is not scripted, guys. So I 100% goals. So we actually, every beginning of every year, we set out we've obviously got a business plan for the next few years, but every year we sit down with staff and we have a conversation about, okay, these are the company goals for the year. What are your goals for the year? We need professional. They need to give me 3 professional and 3 personal goals. And we actually align all those goals together. All right. And up until now, we've been able to nail all their goals in the time that we've given them. And that's the plan going forward is there's no point the company just having the goals and expecting everybody to be on our on our wagon unless we're going to give it back. So we do that yearly. We've already done it for next year. We did that last week, and I think very attainable goals that we can easily achieve by end of next year. So I think having a goal alignment with the company, again, and by personal, we don't have to get involved in, obviously, if they want to have a family, that's not our place to be, but we can support that process in some way, shape, or form.
Brilliant. Rod?
Oh, I think that's all on the money. You need to have you need to have workshop or company goals, so everyone knows ultimately sort of what's over the horizon they're striving for. But you need individual ones as well, because everyone's different. And the mistake is if you think it's just about the money. It can't just be about the money, because again, literature will tell you that money's not a satisfier. So if you're not paid enough, you're dissatisfied. If you're paid enough, you think, oh, well, I'm just paid what I'm entitled to, right? So your goals have to be more than that. Sure, there could be some financial incentives that they can strive for. That's a different thing. So that's just about how you make. But the key is you're trying to motivate the right behaviour.
Sure. This one will be for all three. Feel free to jump in. Otherwise, I'll pick on someone. How best do we support and empower young workers? Maybe Kosta, you might be, Kosta and Rod, you as a young worker, Chelsea, you might come in last.
I thought you were calling me a young worker. I was into that.
There's no chance of that. But if you want to lead it off and then followed by Kosta, let's go.
No, Kosta should go first.
Okay, sure. So how best do we support and empower young workers, Kosta?
Sure. I think company culture, making sure that we have an environment where they can learn, where they can make a mistake, where the whole getting in trouble aspect of things isn't a thing, because it shouldn't be a thing. Now, obviously, we're going to all make mistakes, and that's okay. Now, on the support aspect, I can only talk about what we do. What I think works for us is, providing training as well. So support in the environment, in the workshop environment, but also some training around, because the reality is we're expecting a lot of our techs, once they're qualified, you know it now, you're qualified, right? Now, the reality is that's not it. We've got such an evolving landscape of car that's hitting our workshops right now, and we're expecting them to learn what took us 30 years of transitioning. We're getting more transition of technology in the next 3 years, right? And like we do things like we do again, outside of our culture days that we have a full day of in-house training. A part of that in-house training involves we'll take jobs that probably didn't go as well as they should, or even ones that went really well. We'll make little case studies and we work through them together and see how we can improve them next time. So in-house training is pretty big. Outsourced training is pretty big for us as well. And also even just listening to what the staff want.
Sure. Rod?
I think it's well described. Young people want to feel safe at work, and safe's not about just about workplace health and safety. It's about, safe in terms of their diversity, safe in terms of their capacity to engage and communicate and be open and honest. That'd be my only addition. I thought Kosta handled it well.
Sure, Chelsea. So you, having finished an apprenticeship, what could have been done better? I suppose we've got to be cautious here because you did your apprenticeship, didn't you, with a member? Was that the case?
No, actually.
Oh, you didn't? I'm thinking of Gabby.
Yeah. Otherwise, we wouldn't have recruited her. We wouldn't recruit from them.
So what could have been done better, or what would you have really wanted that would have helped and supported you and empowered you?
A bit like Kosta, I'm going to say what we did do that worked, because I feel like for me it was really enough. Look, I won a few awards during my apprenticeship, and I'm not saying that to pump my tires up or anything.
Pardon the automotive pun.
Yeah, it was good.
But I never put myself forward for any of them. They were all from my boss and my husband, who was my co-worker. Because there was a genuine belief of, I think that you should go for this, and I think that, you have a chance of winning for X, Y, Z reasons. Winning is relevant. It was the fact that they've put me through this process of, I believe in you and I think that you can succeed because you're a great worker and you're doing it. Wow, it always made me feel so special.
That's cool.
It was really beautiful. Yeah. So that was something that I found was a massive support, was putting your staff through awards. But regardless of that, I also think that the thing that my boss did really well was what Kosta touched on. So I answered the phones, did the invoices, I did the cars, I cleaned. There was no job in the workshop that I didn't do. And it taught me so many skills transferring into pencil pushing desk job that I'm able to communicate with people really well. So now when I pick up a phone, I'm not reading my palm cards like I would. And hello, my name is Chelsea. So,
similar to the convener of this webinar.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that it comes back to the two-way trust again. So if they trust you, you trust them. I think that relationship will build and grow. And like Kosta said, you never stop learning ever.
Yeah.
In this industry. So.
All right. So Rod, what can MTAQ do to help employers establish a positive culture? What as a company can we do?
Yeah, no, really good question. And can I say that we are fundamentally committed to this stuff. We obviously are part of the industry, but we love it. So we like to reach out and we work with certainly members, but industry more broadly than that need help. And if you look at someone like Kel's role, the Industry Workplace Advisor, we're really, really proud of it. But that was established in collaboration with government, with the Department of Trade, Employment and Training, as they're now called, which they showed tremendous courage to do something different. So we applaud them for that. And there's a range of other programs that we're in partnership with them as well, all about workforce development. So we've got people who can come out to your business. If you need help, just call us, right? And we will come out and we'll talk to you about what you need. Is it planning? Is it understanding culture? Is it industrial relations? You know, we provide industrial relations support around, okay, how do you want to structure your contracts? We can give you templates just to try and make sure the basics are right. And we can follow that up with other opportunities around professional development and skill development. And it's not just about our members. Well, obviously, we'd love everyone to be a member, but it's about growing the capacity of the industry. And, you know, there are some signs out there now that industry is no longer growing as fast as it was. So some are starting to taper off. So that changes the environment as well. Again, how do you keep your employees feeling safe in that process? But that'd be my answer, Kel. It's about, we have got programs. We've got a range of strategies in our toolkit. I won't bang on about them now, but you've just got to contact us and we'll come and see you.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. And I can reiterate that in my role, the IWA role, that whether you're a member or non-member, that doesn't matter. We're here to help. So that's really good. Kosta, you asked early on a couple of weeks ago if we are recording this. The answer is yes. People, that won't get up on our website until Monday. So just be aware if anyone does want to listen in, give us till Monday. There's a reason for that, and that's our main IT person is on holidays. But we will have that up there ready to go. So firstly, I'd like to thank all panelists, particularly you, Kosta. You've given up time out of your very busy day, and it is much appreciated. If anyone's got anything else, otherwise we will call it, and we're almost right on schedule.
I do have something else, Kel, that I wanted to just close out with. Just a new product. There was some really good conversations today, particularly about, I love the pieces about planning, about business planning, linking your goals and linking your business goals to your employees' business goals. On our website, I don't know if people can see that, Kel. It's probably not very clear.
It's a little bit blurry, Brad, but
that's better.
There we go. We have on our website a workforce planning resource. And a lot of the topics that came through in today's conversation are contained in that resource, and people can have a look at it. There's a good case study in there for how to build a workforce plan linked to your business plan, and there's some templates that businesses can fill out as well. So anybody that's interested, we'll provide the link to that resource following this workshop. And Kel, you're very happy to come out and work through that with anybody that wants a bit of a hand with that too.
Absolutely, but Kosta, I'm not heading into New South Wales territory, mate. But yes, the one thing, Brad, that I'd like to say with that online one is it's very interactive as well. So it's a brilliant resource. But for those that like a hard copy, more than happy to get that to you. So we are, would you believe? And I was a little bit stressed, thinking that this is going to be, these conversations can go anywhere, but they haven't. They've been on point and been absolutely brilliant. So thank you to all panelists, and I really appreciate your time. Thank you to all attendees, and feel free to comment before you leave, whether you liked it, through the chat function, anything that you think that we could have done better. I don't think this topic is over. I think there's more to do. We may not do that into the new year, but I would love to run another one, and we'll go in varying ways, whatever our attendees would like, we'll try and work with. But thank you, guys. And with that, I'll call the meeting or the webinar, and I really appreciate all your time. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, everyone. Good
Bye-bye.
fun. Thank you.